Today is July 10th, 2024. I have the privilege of interviewing Madlen Ezratty. My name is Jill Sharfstein. This interview is at Madlen's home in New York City, and our language today is in English. Good morning, Madlen. I'm Jill Sharfstein. I'm very honored to have the privilege of interviewing you, and we're looking forward to hearing about your beloved husband, Samuel Ezratty. Could you please tell us when he was born?
He was born May 1st, 1921, in Salonica.
And who was his mother?
Estrella.
And do you know her maiden name?
I think Angel.
Right. Do you know when they were married? His mother and father?
No, this I don't know.
No. And what was his father's name?
Abram.
Ezratty.
Ezratty,
Right.
yeah.
And do you know his father's date of birth?
No.
Okay. And where was his father born?
Also in Salonica.
Mm-hmm. And do you know how his parents met each other?
I don't know too much of the history of the parents. He didn't talk too much about them, just here and there. But I never asked him too many questions because he would always get emotional talking about them. So whatever he told me, that's what I know. But I didn't dig too much, you know? So.
And who else was in the home with?
Well, it was his brother, 2 years younger than him, and his sister, who was 3 years older than him.
And his younger brother's name was?
Solomon.
And his sister?
Hilda. I have pictures of them if you want to.
Wonderful.
See.
We
Yeah.
can take pictures. That would be wonderful. Yeah. And did his mother work outside the home?
No.
And
his mother was home, but she died before the war. She was very diabetic, and she died before the war started. Just when the war started, but they weren't occupied yet, so she died before that.
And do you know when his mother died?
I don't know exactly the year. I think it might be written there, but I don't remember. Yeah.
And what did his father do?
He had a drugstore across the street of the hospital. And that's where Sammy learned, you know, he worked in the drugstore with his father because he was very curious always to see how the medicine were made. It wasn't like a drugstore now that you go and buy a bottle. You had to mix stuff. So his father had a drugstore across of the hospital, and he was very well known. And in fact, it's still there. The hospital is still there now in Salonica, and his drugstore, of course. Yeah.
So they lived, and what happened? We'll jump up to Samuel's childhood. Do you know if he became bar mitzvah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Became bar mitzvah. They weren't very religious, but they went to temple. They observed all the holidays. He had a bar mitzvah. He in fact, even remembered his bar mitzvah parasha always. He had an amazing memory. It's really unbelievable. He could recite the parasha 50 years after. And they had a nice family home. He always said that they always had guests, and they had a good life before. And he was very close to his brother and sister, very. Yeah.
Did he ever talk about how they might have celebrated Shabbat?
Not much of that. They did, but he didn't go. He wasn't a very talkative person. You had to just get it out for him. But I know he always liked family gatherings. He liked people. And his house was always full of people. Yeah.
Did he ever talk about his school days?
He wasn't very good in school. He was in trouble many times because he was actually very smart and getting into trouble because he already knew he didn't want to listen anymore. So his one thing was languages, amazing languages. That's one of the things that saved him. Yeah.
Can you tell us what languages he did speak?
Well, they spoke Spanish at home and Greek, And French, he went to French school. And Hebrew, you knew some, but not that much. English, you learned very fast. And German, you learned German in camp. You could converse with the Germans. I don't know how he learned it, but not really. He could get by. And some Polish, because he had a lot of Polish people in his bunk, and he picked it up.
And
Yeah.
And as you just said, it became very important.
To him, it's almost saved his life, the languages.
Would you like to talk about that now? Shall we continue?
You ask me whatever, and I tell you whatever I can.
Tell us what he told you about how it saved the facility of the languages and his many languages helped to save his life.
Well, that's what helped him in camp, but that's like later on.
Okay, let's proceed.
Yeah.
So, did he ever talk about the first time he felt the Nazis were coming, that he was fearful, that he heard something or saw something?
He told me a lot about it because his brother, when the Nazis occupied Salonica, they had a curfew. All the Jews, they wore the star already, and they had to be home at a certain time. His brother, who was 2 years younger and looked like an Englishman, not like, I have a picture of him, the only picture. He was a little late for the curfew, and he ran to get the tram, the thing. One of the Germans hit him in the head. He was the first Jew to die in Salonica. He died 3 days after because he developed meningitis he was the first one to die. So it was like a big thing, Yeah, they were fearful, and there were a lot of stories that you're going to be displaced to go to another place to work. They were totally ignorant of where they're going to go. But some of his friends, the younger ones, his friends, they became partisans, and they asked him to come with us. And, we don't have to go wherever they're going to send us because we're going to be displaced. He didn't want to leave his father, and the sister had a baby, 3-year-old girl. He said, how can I leave my father? My mother died, my brother died. I can't just, go. I have to help them. So he stayed. His brother-in-law was one of the people who went with the resistance. And he sent people to tell the father, please don't go where they're sending you. Just go to a village, try to get out of Salonica, don't go. The father used to say, like everybody else, what are they going to do to us? We're going to go with everybody. Wherever they send us, it's going to be a new place. He didn't want to go. And the rest of the story is like a lot of other people. Yeah.
So 1943 comes, and what happens to Samuel and his father and his sister and the little girl?
They were rounded up in the temple. They told them, take your belongings, not too much, whatever you could carry, all your best stuff, take it with you. You're gonna go to Poland, you're gonna get better work, better facilities. So they all packed up and went to the train station. And this is one of the scenes that my husband always could not even see in a movie, the train station. This got him always. The other thing says, okay, so no, the train station always got him. In fact, when we went to Salonica, I went only once to Salonica, we went to the train. The old train station is still there as a, and the old temple, it's still there. So they went in the cars like sardines. It took many days. It doesn't remember exactly how many, 7 or 8 days to reach Auschwitz. And it was horrible. With the child, and a very young mother. And that was it when they left Salonica. Yeah, just the three of them.
He used his languages. And what else did he ever talk about that helped him?
Well, first, when they got there, they had another, they had the selection committee. At that time, he didn't know who it was. It was an officer that went with the finger the right or left. Afterwards, he found out it was Eichmann. And the minute you get off the train, they were all tired and dirty and hungry and didn't look so good. So with his finger, the right was old people and women with children, and the other people who could work. So him and his father was pretty young, went on one side, and the sister and the baby on the other. But the father said to my husband, your sister is all alone. I can't leave her there with the baby. I have to go with her. And Sammy saw that only old people and children were there. He says, Dad, please stay with me. Don't go to the other. Stay with me. He says, no, I'm sorry. I can't. I have to help her. I'll see you later. And that's the last time he saw her. And the Germans didn't care if you changed to the other side. They didn't care. You changed, they didn't, because they knew you never saw them again. They went right away to the gas chambers, and you never saw them. So, and that's it. That's it for the time that he remained alone. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing these.
I'm sure you hear the stories. There are so many stories similar,
But each
But
is
everybody's,
unique, and each
for
is so
everybody
important.
it is.
We're
Yeah.
grateful that you're sharing
Yeah.
his stories, which are your stories and your family's stories. And
Well, actually,
and-
they're not mine. I feel something sometimes funny talking about it because it's his story, which he never wanted to do. When Spielberg made the movie of Schindler's List, they contacted us and a lot of his friends to make a video. He just said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. That's why it's funny for me to talk about, because he didn't want to. It was too painful. And I hope I'm doing the right thing to tell it.
I believe you are.
Okay.
I certainly do.
Well, some of the kids wanted to know. Some of the kids can't even hear it too much. They get, but especially her and her husband, they really want to have a video for the kids. Yeah.
I think it's a gift. Can you tell us anything that he told you about how he used his facility with language? How did he make himself useful and help his own survival with languages?
Well, first they took him to the barracks. He was with some Polish people, some Greeks, some Polish. And they started going to work every morning, different places, sometimes to the road, sometimes digging graves in the beginning, other times working in the kitchen. But each time they went to work, the Germans loved music. They had music to go to work and music to come back. And the thing is, one of the musicians was from Salonica. Maybe he's very well known actually in the Michel Asael. He played every morning when they went to work and every time when they came back. And he's one of the people that survived. And Sammy made papers for him to bring him to. Since then, they became friends. The languages came a little bit later when transports will come, more transports from Greece or from, they would call him to translate to the people. And I don't know, he knew how to make friends with everybody. The Germans liked everybody to be clean. They hated dirty. He made friends with the guy that would give them the shirt that they wore, to get an extra one. And he would wash in snow his other shirt because he always wanted to be clean. Um, and this also in German because they spoke German. So I don't know how he managed to. I really don't. But they would call him also to translate French and Greek. So I don't know. He made himself known then. I don't know how. But for 2 years, you make, you know. So what else can I tell you?
What jobs did he have to do
In the beginning, different jobs. Like I said, some digging graves,
Yes.
other times working on the roads, in the kitchen. Later on, much later on, he worked in the hospital. But that's a story for later because I don't know, you might want it now.
Whenever you're ready.
Well, it's like, I don't know if you want it like in order or. I think after 1 year that he was there, he got sick with typhus. He was very sick. He thought he's going to die. And in the morning, they used to come to the barracks and see whoever is not good. They would take their shirt and a truck will come and take the people that are destined for that day to go to the crematoriums. They knew that, and he was very sick, and he said, I don't care. So they came that day, and they took his shirt, and he went on the truck with other people. A little bit after, one German came and was talking in French to them. He called 4 names, 3 doctors and his name. So he said, come down. And he asked them in French. I remember him saying that. Quelle est la formule de l'eau? What is the formula of water? They need the doctors. So the first doctor with the French, he couldn't answer. You black out. The next one, I don't know where he was from. The third one was Greek doctor, the same knew. He couldn't answer. He didn't know French. Sammy was the last one, and he said H2O. So they gave him the shirt back, and he said, go back to the block. And they sent him to work in the hospital. And that's what really, the main thing that saved his life. And the others were doctors, but they, that minute you can't remember. So I thought that was a story that was interesting.
It's very important.
Yeah.
So grateful that you're sharing this and painting a picture for us of your husband at a young age under very most difficult circumstances.
Another thing that helped him also, but that was like I don't go in order, but was a little more in the beginning. The Polish guys in the barrack, they weren't good with the people from Salonica. First the language barrier, and then they were like mean to them. But some of them would receive packages from home, salamis and bread and stuff. One day my husband was supposed to clean the bar. They used to take turns who is going to clean the bar. He stayed to clean. When they came back, they said, the salami, you stole the salami. My husband said, I didn't steal the salami. No, you stole, you Greeks, you stole the salami. So 2 of them hung him, I don't know, in a rod, up like this, and they beat him up, and they left. Everybody else was still at work. He was screaming so loud, he doesn't know how long he was there screaming and screaming. One German officer passed by, he took a pity on him, and he cut the rope and took him down. Sammy was started to cry and so grateful, and he said to the officer, you know what? I'm going to polish you. I want every day I'm going to polish your boots. And this went for months because they love to be clean. The Germans were all polished with the boots. He used to take the boots at night, clean them and bring them back, totally shiny. And the German would give him an extra piece of bread or something which he would share with the other people. And that helped him also, So, what else can I tell you? I don't know. There's so many things, but like drips and drops.
No, you're telling
Yeah.
us and giving us such an important picture of survival and resilience.
Another language thing, when the transports will come from Greece, because he was the first transport to go. After that, there were coming more. They would always call him for the selection, and he knew people. He knew a lot of people. The most frightening thing was when Mengele was there, and he wanted the people for, they used to, the experiments. And you saw people that he knew from Salonica, beautiful girls. They used to get only the pretty girls and pretty and good-looking guys for the experiments. And he had to translate for them, and some of them he knew. And he knew where they were going, Mengele everybody was so scared of Mengele when he would come to the line of the new people, because they knew they were going to select just for that, and he knew some people. And actually in our group later on, from survivors that we befriended, was a couple, Sylvia Amar and Jack Amar. I don't know if the name is important. They were on their honeymoon, and she was very beautiful and he was very handsome. They were both sterilized by Mengele. And Sammy was one of the interpreters when they arrived to tell the names and everything, and they took them. But they survived, but so then in the hospital, when he worked in the hospital, he saw Mengele all the time. He was just saying not to treat this one and not to treat the other one, or take some people for experiments from the hospital. Yeah. So, anything else you want to know?
So, tell us, if you can, after what happened after Auschwitz.
After, when he was liberated, you mean?
Well, did he go any place after Auschwitz before
He went
liberation?
in Auschwitz, he went to Ordruf, he went to Birkenau and Auschwitz were the same. Actually, he was liberated from Ordruf. I think his story after the war is more interesting than the one in the camps, because in the camps everybody almost had the same stories, better or worse, but terrible,
I'll just ask you a little bit, and then we will talk about that, because it's all very important. This is such important testimony of a hero, your husband, and we want to hear as much as you're able to give us. Why was he transferred to Ordruf? Why were they?
They were transferring them all the time. They taking them sometimes to one camp, then to the other camp. I don't know why. I don't think he knew why. He went wherever they told him.
And what did he do there?
The same after he started to work in the hospital. He worked in the hospital all the time, even in the other. But it's not really to save people. It's if they died, he would transport them to the gas chambers. I mean, it wasn't a doctor's job. I don't know what. He tried to help, but you couldn't help much. Yeah.
So he was transferred to Ordruf, and then what happened after that?
Well, that was already to the end of the war. He was in Ordruf, and they started, the Americans were coming and the Russians were coming from the other side. They started to empty the camps. They didn't know where they were going, and they started marching from Ordruf for a few days. During the day, walking, and at night they would stop. But they were so tired, whoever would even stop for a little bit, they were shooting, because they wanted to go fast. So Sammy and 3 others decided one night, after a few days of walking, we can't walk, they're going to shoot us anyway. So they hid at night, and in the morning when they started walking, they hid. they stay there. One was Bela Fabian. He was an Hungarian that was from the parliament. I don't know why he was a political prisoner, actually. Another one was a German Jew from Berlin who was a musician. And the third one was, he didn't talk much about him, so I don't know much about him. He was another Greek guy, and Sammy, the four of them. So when everybody, in the morning when everybody had left, they didn't know which way to walk because they didn't want to go back to the camp. They didn't want to go forward. They were just like kind of lost. And they were the first four to be liberated by Eisenhower's army. They picked them up. And it was like a miracle, really. And because of the Hungarian Jew, he told the Americans that he knows President Roosevelt. If they could tell President Roosevelt that he's liberated, they contacted him and they got the answer. Please treat those four the best you can. So they were in the newspaper, the first four liberated by Eisenhower's army. I have the clipping. And they were treated amazing. They gave them clothing, they gave them food, and then they took them to Paris. They were put in a beautiful hotel he always told me, Neuilly. I don't even know where that is. And they stayed there for a while. They were treated amazing.
Yeah. And what year was this? And do you know the date?
1945. I have it written exactly, but I don't remember. Yeah.
And how old was Sammy at that time?
He was 20. I have to count. Yeah, 22, 23.
As a young man.
Yeah, young man. Yeah.
Did he ever get the names of the soldiers who found them?
No. He didn't have the name. Maybe it was in the newspaper because it is in the archives, but I don't know.
Was he able to keep in touch with the three other?
One, Hans Meyer, the musician, he even came to visit us because he moved to America, to United States. He was a teacher in a college in, I don't remember, Ohio or someplace. He came to visit us. He didn't have a family, but he was a very, very nice man. With the Hungarian, he went back to Hungary. He became very prominent there. And when the Hungarian Revolution was, he came to New York. He contacted Sammy, and Sammy made him, because he had a factory, he made him black armbands. I don't know how many, 1,000, 2,000, I don't remember, for the revolution there. Yeah, they kept in touch with him, with those two. The other one, no, I didn't.
Speaking, when you said armbands, it reminded me that I didn't ask you, but do you know Sammy's number? That was
122, 128. Yeah.
So.
And he always had it. Some people took it out.
Mm-hmm.
He never was. He says, "No, I earned this. I'm not going to take it out."
Now,
yeah.
What happened after Paris?
He was 1 year in Paris. But there's some things that I forgot to tell you. Can I go back?
Please.
I don't know if you know the story of Marcel Najari. No. After 1 year that Sammy was in camp, another transport came from Athens, because in Salonica they took the Jews before Athens. In Athens they were very assimilated. So this friend of his, they weren't too friendly in Salonica, but they knew each other. he escaped to Athens and he wasn't caught like everybody else. But a year after, they did catch him. So the transport came, he recognized him, and he had no shoes. He was walking barefoot. Sammy took his shoes off and gave it to him. And then they didn't see each other for a while because they put Marcel right away from the beginning to work in the crematorium. And he thought, well, I'll never see him again because people don't work there for long. You know, you work a little bit and that's it. Then he heard of him that he's still there. But still they didn't see each other. He worked there for a year. When Sammy was liberated in Paris, every day they used to go, all of them, to look for survivors, maybe, and they saw Marcel Najari's name. He said, it's impossible that he's alive because nobody that worked so long. They met each other, and it was the most, yeah. So he stayed in Paris with him for a while, but he went back to Greece. They remained best friends. For Sammy brought him and his family to the United States. He worked with him for 20 years until he opened his own business. And just recently, I don't know if you had seen documents of Marcel Najari. I have here, which is very important to see. They found 2 canisters with letters inside that Marcel wrote in Auschwitz. They were just discovered. It was amazing story of courage. And I know the man for 50 years. He was best friend. They remained best friends, always. We were always together. Never once did I hear the two of them, never once, talking about concentration camp. Never. They would get together, we would sing, play cards, eat, joyful. He died at the age of 53, which I thought at the time he was an old man, but he was only 53. They never spoke about it. But he is something that, there is a book about him, very, very interesting. I have a picture of him, I'll show you. Yeah.
Shall we take a little break?
Yeah.
Now? And we'll come
Are
back.
we going to eat?
Yes, we're going to. So after Paris, tell us what happened, as far as you know.
Before we finished Paris, he was there 1 year, and he wanted to come to America because his family found him through the newspapers when they had the article that the 4 liberated by Eisenhower, they saw his name, but they could not find him. It took a while until they located him and they started corresponding with him to bring him here. But they couldn't because there was no quota. They would not let anybody after the war come. So he stayed in Paris for a while, and Marcel had left at the time, and he had other people there. His family here worked so hard, especially his aunt. She was very active in the Sephardi community, Fanny Angel. And after trying to bring him, they found a Greek captain of a ship. They paid him and bribed him to smuggle him. So he came here illegal. For the whole trip he was underneath, they used to sneak food for him. He was totally scared. He came here, I really don't know who got him at I really don't know this, but he came to his family. They lived in the Bronx. And he was very scared. He couldn't walk out. They tried with a lawyer to make him stay. They wanted to deport him right away. They said the only way he could stay is if he joins the American Army. He said, okay, I'll join. But he didn't even know English. His English was very bad. He joined the army. he did basic training. He learned a little bit English. They used to call him Frenchy because, he couldn't, but he communicated somehow. And they sent him to Japan. He went to Japan for 1 year. Loved it there. Loved it. He worked again in the hospital. And because he said to everybody he's a pharmacist. So, but he knew a lot of things. He knew how to give shots. He knew how to dispense medicine. He knew how to take vitals. He knew a lot of things. He stayed 1 year there, and he was discharged with honors. At the time that nobody got promotions, he got a promotion. He wrote at home to his aunt that he got a promotion. They didn't believe him because they had frozen the promotions at the time. But he did. And he came back, and they wanted to deport him again, even after he went for 1 year to Japan. His family was very, very active with people, and they tried to find anybody who could help them. The congressman at the time, I think his name was Saul Bloom, I'm not sure, put a special, in Congress, a special bill that a man who lost his whole family, discharged with honors, still wants to be they want to deport him, so they passed the bill. And finally he remained, without being afraid to go out. Yeah, it was some journey. That's what I said, that to me, the story of my husband is more interesting. I mean, to show courage is more after the camps. Because in camp, it was terrible. I mean, either you died or you lived, the survivors lived. But afterwards, you still need the stamina and the willpower and not to lose your zest for life, that you want to do something, when you lose everybody. And that's what he had. He was really, really very tough. And he made good after. Yeah. So,
do you want to tell us about how the two of you met?
The two of us, how we met. Yeah. I was in the army at the time, 1958. We had come 10 years before.
To Israel.
To Israel from Bulgaria. Yeah. My story is totally irrelevant next to his.
Please share.
Yeah. And it was the first time that I was for a year and a half in the army. I didn't take vacation when I was supposed to, and they gave me a week vacation. When something is meant to be, So I took vacation for that year, but all my friends I was just alone because they were all working. And I was just coming home with my laundry bag and everything. And I met somebody that I knew from the army, Rav Seren, how do you say, with one, I don't know in English, an officer, but I don't know he was an officer in my unit, walking with another man. So I said, hello, I know him. He said, this is my cousin. He just came from Israel. He's going to stay here a few days. And goodbye. The story goes like my husband told me. When I left, he told my cousin, do you know this girl? He says, well, I know her from work, and I know what her father's story is, but I don't know where she lives or anything. He said, well, I'm here for a few days. I have nothing to do. I like her. He says, we can go to her father's store and ask where she lives. And that's what happened. They came to my father, and my father said, I don't know if she wants to go out. We'll ask her. We live a few blocks away. So then I came to the store, and he said, look, I'm here only for a few days. I don't know anybody. Would you like to show me around? I said, sure. So we went out that night to a nightclub, which I've never been in my life. I was very impressed with the whole thing, So he said to me, you know what? I'm going to marry you. And I started to laugh and I said, yeah, sure, you're going to marry me. I thought he was joking and my English was so. I spoke, but, not enough to disagree too much because I couldn't argue. I said, sure, you're going to marry me. And we were laughing. Goodbye that night. The next morning, he came early in the morning to my apartment. And he said, come, let's go to the beach. So to make a long story short, he was there for a week. He was supposed to be for a week. He stayed 3 weeks. We were every day together. I had to go to work after a week, but he would come to my, where I was in Ramatka. He would come and stay with me when he can. And every day, he would not take no for an answer. You're going to marry? I said, how can I marry? I would never leave Israel, never, ever. I would never leave my family. I'm 18 years old. I don't want to go. He says, you're right. The next day, the same. He would never, yeah. We're going to travel together. We're going to go places together. I said, stop dreaming because I am not going to marry you. That's it. But I did. He came back. We started corresponding. And I met him August 31st, and we got married November 11. And we didn't know each other. We hardly really didn't know each other. And I was telling myself, my God, if it doesn't work out, I never traveled anywhere all of a sudden to God. If it doesn't work, I'll come back. I never saw my father cry like that because he said, I don't have a daughter to marry. She's very young. And I wanted to go to school and do stuff. But we fell in love.
And what year was that?
Mm-hmm.
What year was that?
1958.
1958.
November 11, 1958.
And you were how old?
I was going to be 19.
And
yeah.
he was?
Well, he was, he told me at the time he was 35, but he was older. He was 36, yeah. But he was so full of life and so handsome and so, engaging that age never mattered to us, never. Yeah. And it was fun. It was a fun courtship of 3 weeks. Because I thought I'll never see him again. When would I ever see him again? So I would just, I didn't care. The first time in my life I wore high heels I took from my mother. I couldn't walk. I said, I can't walk, but So I took my shoes off and I'm walking in the, he said, you're walking without shoes? How you? I said, I can't walk. I never walked with high heels. And I didn't care because I said, when am I going to see this American again? I don't care what he thinks about me. It was a fun time. But this doesn't belong in the...
It does. It's part of your story.
The whole thing is going to be there, or you're going to cut some?
It's all going to be here.
No, he's going to cut some.
Pause in camera.
We're back from a break, and we want to hear about what happened after this amazing whirlwind courtship.
Well, I came to United States. I didn't know, of course, anybody, but his family was just wonderful. And they were very good to me. He had his mother's sister had they had immigrated with 7 children before the war, quite a few years before the war. And they are the ones that found him. So they were his family, and they really filled the void for him to have a family. They were wonderful to him. In fact, Fanny Angel, his cousin, she adopted him. She had 2 sons, one of them exactly the age like my husband. Years after, she adopted him legally. And she used to say, I have 2 sons I gave birth to and one that I chose. And she was my mother-in-law. I called her mom. She was really wonderful to him and to me and to my kids.
What was her name?
Fanny Angel.
Fanny Angel.
Yeah. So, yeah.
How did they find him?
Through the newspaper.
Through the newspaper.
They found him through the newspaper when they saw his name,
Right.
and it took a while to find him.
And how did they eventually connect with him? You said it was hard to find him.
Through through different channels, through the American army, and they knew who were the four liberals, so they found him. Yeah, they were terrific. And we still, it was his family, the Azaria family. He found in them what he really missed most, because he was the only one left from his whole family. He had uncles and aunts there, which he didn't have anymore. Yeah.
So you were married, you came to the US, and when did you begin having children together?
Oh, very soon after. My daughter, my oldest Sabrina, was born 1960, and then I had a year after my son, 1961, year and a half after. And then my little one in 1967. He was absolutely so happy with the kids. He was, the happiest days of his life. Yeah. And he saw, luckily, quite a lot of grandchildren. We have 9, but he saw 8. And then my daughter was pregnant with the 9th, but he didn't get to see her. Yeah.
And your grandchildren's names? Do you want to say your children's names and then your grandchildren's names?
To tell you, or
Yes,
you have
please.
them there? Oh, well, my first daughter is Sabrina. You have it there, right?
I do, but tell me their names so we have it as
Oh,
part of
okay.
your testimony.
Yeah. My firstborn is Sabrina, then is Ari, and then Karen.
Right, and Sabrina's last name now, or the name she
Saltiel.
uses?
Saltiel.
Right. And the grandchildren?
The grandchildren is her children. Sabrina's children are Alexandra and Natalie and Jason.
And they use the last name?
Saltiel. Well, he's Saltiel, Jason. Actually, they're all Saltiel, yeah, because they didn't change their names.
And then Ari's children?
Ari's children are Charlotte, Sam, Isabel, and William.
And they're Ezratty.
Ezratty. Yeah.
And Karen's children?
And Karen's children as Griffin and Scarlett.
And their last name is?
O'Connor.
And the little great-granddaughter?
Romy Madlen.
Ah, lovely. And her last name is?
Krifcher. Yeah.
Did your husband ever talk to the children about his experience?
Some. Mostly to Karen. Not so much to Sabrina and Ari. He didn't want to... Either... 2 reasons. Either it was hard for him because he would get emotional, or he didn't want to burden the children with these memories and see him as... we had other friends of survivors that spoke all the time about it. And it was like heavy in the house, you know what I mean?
Yes.
He loved life, he liked to sing, he liked music, he liked to be... He didn't want to be associated all the time with being a survivor. Everybody has different reactions to this, you know? When we had the Yom Shoah every year, and we wanted to go, our friends were going, he says, I don't have to go there to remember. I remember all the time. I don't want to. So that was his reaction, you know?
What was his profession? What did he do for a living
Oh, here?
here?
Well, he wanted really to do something in medicine. Of course, he didn't. When he came here, his family had a business of clothing manufacturer. Really good. They were very good royal frocks. They used to make women's dresses. Royal frocks. His 2 cousins had that. And they took him there to work. to do anything, from sewing buttons to sleep. But he was very curious and wanted to learn. So he was constantly behind the guy that was making the parents. He looked, then he used to go every Sunday when nobody was working, the factory was closed, to practice to sew on the machine. He wanted to do the whole thing, not just one thing, because there were cutters, there were sewers, there were piecework. He didn't want piecework. He wanted to learn how to do the whole thing. So they were terrific, the cousins. They saw that he was very interested. They put him in school for 2 years in FIT. After 6 months, the teacher says, it's useless for you to be here because you already know everything. Because everybody started to learn, but he already knew how. But he worked very, very hard to learn everything. And he really did good. He had a photographic memory. He would go to a store, look at the dress that he liked, because they were copying dresses to make it cheaper. And he would just design it and make it. He became really very successful. And after a few years, 5 years that he worked there, his cousin worked there too, they decided to go to business of their own. And the nice thing of the family was they went to a big competition. They helped them and gave them money. They said, it's a big place. You could do your own. They loved him. They really treated him like a son. They helped him to open his own business, even though it was in competition to them. Terrific people. And he made really, when I met him, actually, August 31st, he told me, today's the anniversary of 5 years that I was, and it's the first vacation he took, 5 years that he was in business. And he became very successful.
What was the name of his new company?
Rich Lady. Rich Lady. The other was Royal Frocks. This was Rich Lady. Yeah. And he was good at it. He was really very good. Yeah. He was a designer, and so he did a lot, and his cousin too.
And did he get a chance to retire?
Well, he did, yeah. He retired, I think, I don't know exactly what year. He retired because he wasn't going to. He was young to retire. But the competition from China, he didn't even pay to work because they were making cheap dresses, but they undercut them so much, and they raised the rent where it was, in 501 7th Avenue. He said, I work so hard to work for the rent, it's silly. And he retired, yeah. So.
What do you think he might want his family to know about him?
They would like to know that with everything he went through, he never lost his faith in people. Never. He was never bitter. He helped everybody that he could. He brought a lot of people, of the survivors, here. He loved people. Because after what you went through, you could hate. He didn't. He was a good man. I think that's what they would like to know. He was really a good man. Yeah. And I in all the years that we were married, all through business and other acquaintances, I never heard anybody say a bad thing about him. I was always very proud to be his wife. For me, it was somebody to look up at because he was very emotional, but also very strong, which is sometimes it's not the right combination, but if he made up his mind to do something, nothing will stop him. I think the kids were proud of him, really proud. Yeah.
This is the last question. What do you think his message would be to the world today?
He had an intuition about things. used to watch television years ago, and he said, you know what? You watch out. Here, it's going to be something bad for the Jews. It's going to come. You'll see. His message, he would be upset to watch the news today. Totally. Yeah. What's going on, he would be very upset. But also, he wasn't a pessimist. He would look on the bright side. Because the good, in the end, prevails, you know. Yeah. He wasn't morbid. That's what I think put him a little bit away from people who went through a lot of, like I told you about the musician Michel Assael. If you met him 5 minutes after, he would tell you about the camps. That's all he was. He was a good musician. He was great. He played at our bar mitzvah, the weddings, everything. But he could never get out of that. As opposed to Marcel and Sammy, every opportunity they would have, they would sing and they would go. They wanted fun. So, I don't know. But I wish he could tell you the story. He will be better, but he was also shy in telling his own story. Yeah.
I think he'd be very proud of you for sharing so many memories and describing his many strengths and love for his family, for humanity.
Yeah.
And it's very clear how much you loved him, and we're very, very grateful for you for telling us this story.
Well, I'm happy you're helping me because I don't know how to go on.
Is there anything that you would like to say to your children and grandchildren and your first great-grandchild? Any message for your family?
Well, when you hear this video, just remember it's done with love. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're all very grateful.
Thank you.
Please tell us about this picture.
This is like the only picture we have of Sammy's younger brother, Solomon, with his niece. Her name was Simone. She was 3 years old. And it's from Salonica, of course. But that's all I know. That's the only picture we have of her.
Thank you. Please tell us about this picture.
This is Sammy in the army. I don't know if it's taken in Japan. I don't know exactly what year, 1947, I think. He was 1 year in Japan, and this is the only picture I have from there.
Thank you. Can you please tell us about this photo?
This is Sammy's sister, Hilda. It's her engagement picture to Alberto Saul. And he's the one that survived. He survived because he didn't go to camp. He went with the partisans.
Thank you. Can you please tell us about this picture?
This is the first picture that Sammy had in Paris probably a year after he was liberated. It's the only picture I have from that time. I didn't know him then, so that's all I could say.
Thank you. Can you please tell us about this photograph?
These are the passport pictures that we took for our wedding in 1958. Just a passport picture. Nothing.
Thank you. Can you please tell us again what this document is?
This is our wedding certificate in 1958. And the pictures are taken for the passport, so they put them there. Yeah. And that's it.
Thank you. Can you please tell us about this photograph?
This is my first picture I took when I came to United States. I came December 17, 1958, and 3 days after was the bar mitzvah of his son. So Sammy told me to be prepared to bring something to wear because the bar mitzvah, I know exactly the date. It's 1958, December 20. Yeah. And they called us to light a candle because it was, a big deal to meet the new bride.
Thank you so much. Can you please tell us about this certificate?
This is the certificate when you became a citizen in 1949, after waiting a few years. He was very proud of that day when he became a citizen.
Thank you so much. Please tell us about this photograph.
This is a picture of myself, Madlen Ezratty, with my husband Sam Ezratty. We are attending a wedding. I think it was in the 1970s. I'm not exactly sure of the date. And that's it. I said both names.
Thank you so much. Can you please tell us about this article?
Well, this article appeared in 1945, in April 1945, and it said about the 4 Americans that were rescued by Eisenhower's army. One of them, of course, was Sam Ezratty. And that's how his family that was already living in the United States found his name on it and started working to bring him to the United States, thanks to this article.
And do you want to tell, if you heard later on, what the family thought when they read this article?
Oh, they were so excited, they couldn't believe it, but it took them time to find it because they had to go through different channels in the army to find him where exactly he was. And then they worked very hard here to bring him here, thanks to this article. The first 4 liberated by Eisenhower's army.
Thank you so much for your extraordinary testimony in honor of your husband, Sam Ezratty. We're very, very grateful, and this concludes our interview.
Thank you. Thank you.